everybody. Thanks for coming to AMA number 7. Really excited to be a part of this. Love to see that people have already gotten in the comments. This is going to be a fun one. They're always fun ones. Let me get one thing right out of the way. Why do I have tattoos? You see these fake tattoos all over me? Why do I have those? It's because I just shot a new music video. Also, let me try to switch Wi-Fis. I'm getting like a bad Wi-Fi notification. Give me 1 second. I have a thing I prepared for this, actually. Check it out. Hi, okay. Is that better? Somebody get in the comments and say if this is better or the same. Anyway, okay, why do I have the tattoos? It's because I just shot some new music videos over the weekend. That's why I have tattoos. I always put on temporary tattoos for my music videos. Originally, my whole plan was that anytime I ever appeared on YouTube, I would have like different fake tattoos that would be like half faded. And that's why I did it for all my original music videos. But then when like the pedal shit started happening and I became like a real YouTuber, I had to start putting out videos so quickly that I got too lazy to do the tattoos, which I regret. So now I'm just gonna like try to sneak back into having temporary tattoos be part of who I am from this day forward. Okay, cool. All right, hi everybody. So then look at this. Here's the other thing we gotta talk about. See how this guy is a new member? I like your jacket. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. What that means is this person pays money on a monthly basis to get special shit. For instance, their AMA questions will be given priority. Now, the truth is that I'm going to try to answer everybody's AMA questions because I love it when people show up and just ask me random questions. But if I have to make hard choices, then the members get priority. But then there's also like higher membership levels where we can do like live streams where I'll give you like special masterclass guitar lessons and talk about complicated things. And like, or we can do the things where like you play me your music and I give you constructive feedback or whatever. Or we can do like special Zoom master classes. That's the highest level of YouTube membership. And then also there's like exclusive videos I'm going to do. So only members will be able to see those videos. I already have some on my channel, actually. If you're a member, you should look up the members only videos I've already put on my channel. It's basically like Patreon, and I also have a Patreon. So if you like Patreon, if you have the Patreon app on your phone and you're already like doing the Patreon lifestyle, you can just get all the things I just said by Patreon instead of YouTube. Links for doing either of these things, joining the YouTube thing or joining the Patreon thing, are in my video description. So feel free to check that out. We're almost done with the commercial part of my AMA where I explain all this. We're almost done with it. The last thing I have to say is that if you do join, if you become a YouTube member, you get like a special thing next to your name. Like, can you guys see that I like your jacket has like an icon now? Like all the members have like a little special scorpion icon that my friend John Marty helped me make. He's the guy who helps me do every music video and every action figure anime. Everything I've ever done that was good, my friend John Marty helped me with. So we made these special scorpion icons that you get if you become a member. But you know what YouTube calls those? They call them loyalty badges. And I just want to say, like, even though I'm the guy who's like made the special loyalty badges and I'm asking you to sign up for the thing where you get a loyalty badge, I feel a moral obligation to say that I think that's a fucking weird name for it. I think it's weird that I'm asking people to do a thing where they get a loyalty badge. To me, that sounds like it's from North Korea. You know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate your loyalty. Let me be very clear on this point. I appreciate the loyalty. I appreciate, look at this, loyalty till death. I really appreciate it. Right? Like Wrapped in Gray, he gets it or she gets it. Sorry if I don't know the Wrapped in Gray pronouns there. My apologies. You know, and look at this. I pledge allegiance to Cybertech. Look, I love it. I love that I'm getting your sweet loyalty dollars. You know, I appreciate that. The support, the AMA, the fact that I know a bunch of you and you guys know each other and like the chat is something. I love all that. But I also feel like I should just say, you know, you shouldn't be loyal to me no matter what, right? Like there's things I could do that like I think you should be disloyal to me if I do those things. Like, let me just say that right now. Like I'm glad that as of today, like we all are in a good mood about this and people are taking their loyalty badges at like the right level of serious. But like, you know, there's terrible shit I could do where I think you should be disloyal to me in the future. You know, if I go insane and I become a terrible person, right? Like if I use my following to try to undermine the peaceful transfer of power in our country, I think you should like stop being loyal to me, right? Or if I like use my following to harass the families of children who were killed in school shootings and I make up lies and those people get terrorized, like I think you should stop being loyal to me if I do that. You know what I mean? Like if I go around bragging about being a rapist and like my ex-wife in deposition says as a matter of public record that I raped her and other people say that too. And then I also start to brag about the fact that I do it. Like, I think you should be disloyal to me. So, you know, I'm trying to walk this line where like, I want you to give me your money and sign up for my thing and do the thing where you get a loyalty badge. But I'm also saying like, just in case I get too much money or something terrible happens and I become an evil, terrible authoritarian, if that happens, I hope somebody will come along and be like, it is now time for us to stop being loyal. It's just very important for me to say that since this is the first month that I'm doing YouTube memberships and Patreons. I knew I was going to say this at the next AMA. As soon as I click the thing where I'm like, yes, give people the loyalty badges, take the money. I knew that I was going to have to express my discomfort with that part of it. Wow. Okay. Look at this one. If you use your following to play Stairway to Heaven in a Guitar Center as a TikTok prank, be disloyal. Oh, okay. That's setting the bar a little low. You know, part of me doesn't want to lose followers that easily. You know, I'm a little worried about that. Hold on. Am I still getting fucking Wi-Fi issues? Somebody, look, this is what we want here. I will call you on the Not Cool Crap guaranteed. Thank you. I'm still getting, here's what I need from you now though, loyalty people. Tell me in the chat if I'm getting, if like the video's fucked up and like desynchronized and if there's like buffering issues. Cause I'm getting like hard to understand notifications that the stream is fucked up. All right, look at this. I'm saying you're saying it's okay? You're saying it's okay that I can just start answering the people's questions now? Let me try one more thing. Hold on. Let me try one more thing. All right, I turned my cell phone off. Maybe that'll like reduce the destructive interference. Maybe I put on that whole special little be right back video just so I could turn my cell phone off. That's the kind of shit you do after you make a BRB little video insert. Here's a pro tip for live streamers. If you make a whole little video just for saying be right back, you'll be tempted to overuse it. You know, I turned it on for like 30 seconds just so I could do this. All right, let's start answering some people's questions. You guys have been very patient. Oh no! Look at this. All right, slight buffering issues, tiny glitches. No. All right. I think I know what to do. I'm gonna relocate. Now I really need the video. All right. I promise at some point we're gonna start doing the questions. I got a lot of good questions. I like how I guaranteed a bunch of people. I was like, give me your money and I guarantee I'll answer your questions. And then like we're like 15 minutes into the AMA and I've addressed 0 questions. That's, you know, that's the kind of hostility you get and you can expect to love from Cyber Attack membership. All right, let me reload. I'm going to get right next to the Wi-Fi router. Hold on one second. Hey, okay, right next to the router now. Hopefully this will be better. Thanks for dealing with all this amateur hour bullshit. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. You guys ready to do this for real now? Now that we figured out all our issues? All right. Let's start doing some questions. Okay, here's one. Here's a classic cyber attack question from Too Many Hobbies. This was submitted on Instagram. Do you like pumpkin spice lattes? The answer is no, but not because I don't like pumpkin spice. It's because I don't drink caffeine. That's how much of a wuss I am. I just don't drink any caffeine. But I can do pumpkin spice bullshit. You know what I even like? Thomas Bagels makes a look at this, sponsored by Windex. That's really funny because I have a Windex thing right here. Good one, Eric. Very good. Thanks for making the AMA funny while I fuck it up. Right. Sorry, back to the question though. Yeah, so Thomas Bagels, like those like shitty supermarket bagels that aren't good, Thomas, they make a pumpkin one that I like. In fact, since I'm in my kitchen, I can show it to you. I order it on Amazon. Oh. Yeah, look at this shit. Thomas pumpkin spice bagels. These are bad, but if you toast them and then you put a lot of butter on them, then they're good. And they're only available from like now to whenever. It's like only available for pumpkin spice season. So clearly pumpkin spice is not the issue. I'm fine with that. What's the problem? Who doesn't like Halloween? Who wouldn't get excited about pumpkin spice? Also, I like pumpkin spice Oreos. I'll get those. I think stuff like that is good. Or like the candy corn Oreos too. I'm fine with all that. Cool. All right. So, but I don't drink lattes of any kind. I don't like lattes. I don't like caffeine. I don't like the taste of coffee. You know, I'm just way too uptight to fuck with any of that. All right. Check out this question. This is from a Patreon subscriber. That's why there's asterisks next to it. Asterisk next to it, so I knew that I had to answer it. Okay, so first of all, thanks for being a Patreon person, Zachary. If you were tasked with making sound effects with just your guitar and a single pedal for an old school 16-bit style action game, what pedal would you pick? The easiest, funnest one to do this, I think, is the Bit Commander from Earthquaker Devices. That's like, you just plug it in and it's instantly what you're saying you want here. And it would be hard to get a setting that wouldn't be what you want here. I love that pedal. That was one of my first like what the fuck pedals. I think it just sounds good. It's like a octave fuzz that has like a very retro video game vibe. So that's the one that's like easy and fun and is going to be an instant home run. Okay, but the sort of like hardcore option for this would be the Syntax Error from Alexander Pedals. That's the one that has like a lot of modes and secondary functions on the knobs. If you get the V2, it comes with a screen. You know, that one is like maybe not the easiest pedal to just sort of plug in and instantly know what you're doing, but it is a total jackpot for like cool video game stuff. And I use it a lot. I use it for like fun video game cyber attack bullshit, but there are other things it can do that I also love it for. I have a video about it. And I use it a lot on my second record, which isn't out yet, but when it is, I'm going to talk about it a lot. Cool. Thank you for the question. All right, what else can we do? Let me do a couple other easy ones. Oh, here's one. Here's a good one. How do you make a living in general from What is Politics? What is Politics is a YouTube channel. You guys might be into it. He's got like 5,000 subs. He's in the game. It's about like anthropology. He's got like 1 million long videos that's about like why does inequality exist? You know, there's some cool stuff. I learned stuff. Anyway, his question for me is, how do you make a living in general? Well, for starters, you know, I was born in a post-agricultural society that had like, you know, evolved to develop various hierarchical structures and divisions of capital. And I was born at a time when, you know, I stood to benefit from those things. That's how he answers questions on his YouTube channel. It was like a really dorky, really specific joke intended to be understood literally by one person in the world who submitted this question. The real answer to the question is, it's just a lot of freelance hustling. One way I make money is that I have Patreon subscribers and YouTube members, which you could become if you wanted to. There's links to become a member and a Patreon person in my video description. So I get a little bit of money from that, but I get a little bit of money from a lot of things. I get my YouTube channel is monetized, so I get money for the ads that are served. I get paid by pedal companies to make the videos you see in the first place. I teach guitar. I'll put a link in the video description if you want to take Zoom guitar lessons from me. I play on other people's records. I play in other people's bands. It's a lot of stuff like that. It's just a lot of freelance hustling. Look at this. How will increase in grain prices affect conflict in Whoops Wrong Channel? Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know. That was funny though. And look at this. One of my students is here right now, and this was not a plant. Hell yeah, he's a great teacher. Highly recommend. Thanks, man. Thanks. You're a good student. One thing I like about teaching is that then I get to sort of like form these guitar players and like send them in the world to like destroy and take all comers. Like I'm a competitive person, and I really like the idea that like all of my students are just being trained to assassinate. That's the kind of guitar teacher I am. I feel like if you're going to learn guitar, you should be able to kill people with your guitar playing. So I want my guys to like go out there and it's kind of like Cobra Kai Guitar School. I haven't seen that show, so I don't actually know what I'm saying. But if my understanding of the original Karate Kid movie is correct, then, I try to train my guitar players to be, lethal, to eliminate their foes by any means necessary. And look at this. Do you teach OP1? What I could do is I could do like an OP1 class, like an OP1 live stream class. That would only be for the top tier Patreon people or for my highest level YouTube members. We could do like an OP1 live stream class like once a month or something. Are you comfortable with critiquing upon request another's YouTube channel? I don't know. You can try it. You can ask. I hope I'll be comfortable depending on who it is. I'm friends with other YouTube channels. So if it's one of my buddies, I might have to just only say nice things. But you can ask, let's try it. Let's try it. I imagine you don't teach the normal garbage and start with the blues. Well, I start with the pentatonic scales, but I take pains to explain that the pentatonic scales are not necessarily blues scales. So I don't know if you knew that, but it's possible to treat the pentatonic scales as like just not a blues thing. So we start there, and if you don't like the blues, then we don't treat it as a blues thing. Look at this. Do you have two of the same pedal that you use together? Yes, I have two Boss PS6 harmonists. And not only do I use them together, I had them put in one box. Mark Leahy from a company called Make Sounds Loudly will make like custom pedal enclosures for you. So I sent him my two Boss PS6 harmonists, and he put them in one enclosure, so they only have one power source. And this way that pedal doesn't take presets, but I love it, and there are many different sounds I like for it. So for every show, I'll pick two sounds. I mean, this is why I almost need more than two, because there's more than two sounds I like. But I'll pick the two sounds that I need out of that pedal for the show, and then I'll set one of the two like that and the other one like that, and then I can sort of switch between the presets. What's your favorite chorus pedal? Well, in terms of like dedicated chorus pedals, I love the Boss CE3. People always talk about the Boss CE2, which is also great. I like the Boss CE3, but specifically, there's a company called Frommel Electronics that will do pedal modifications, and they have a mod for the Boss CE3. And you might even be able to just buy a used Boss CE3 from them that has the modification. I don't know if you can do that. Maybe you can do that. But either way, the Boss CE3 with the Frommel mod is my favorite chorus pedal. Even without the mod, it's still pretty cool. And then the other answer is that there's a chorus sound you can get out of the Mood pedal from Chase Bliss, which I really love. That's in my video about the Mood. Oh God, look who it is. Emily Hopkins the most successful YouTuber in the world. If you guys have any questions for Emily Hopkins, she's here. You can ask her. We're BFFs now. So she's in. Hi, Emily. It's great to see you always. Thanks for being BFFs with me. All right. What was I like skipped a question though. What was I in the middle of talking about? Oh yeah. Did I finish this question? How I make a living? You know, part of it is also just like random guitar player gigs. Like I'll be in other people's bands and stuff. Oh, and I'll do sessions. I've been on records. I was on a record this past spring that had some like kind of famous people on it, but I can't talk about it yet because it's not out yet. But I'm gonna have like big news at some point. We really are BFF. Yeah, I've been to Emily's house. We had lunch together and all that kind of stuff. We're absolutely BFFs in real life. This is a great one. How do you get over the hump of just playing, jamming to actually recording, constructing ideas? Well, one thing would be to like record some of the fragments of ideas you have. A fragment counts. Like a little tiny fragment counts. Like if you get to something, you're like, oh, that could be cool. Just take out your phone and record it real quick. And then, the next day, go back to that. Instead of just doing your jam routine, just like go back to the fragment and be like, what is in between this being a fragment and a song? And see if you can just carve out part of your day every day to that, So it's not that you just sort of sit down and say, well, come to me now, inspiration. Wait till you get an idea where you're like, oh, I want another bite of that. Like, how do I bite that good thing again? Pretend it's like a Thomas pumpkin spice bagel, and you like took the one bite, you're like, oh yeah, that is good, and then you just want to bite it again. I hope that helps. I really want to experiment with vocal filtering processing without having to use a computer. Do you have any recommendations? No, I don't even really do vocal processing with a computer, and I'm sure it's easier with a computer. Everything's easier with a computer. I don't do that. I fuck everything up, and then I try to make my voice sort of normal and plain. That's just my taste. Also, because I'm like writing my own lyrics, and I'm not even that good a singer. I just want to sound like Ivan is singing it. I want people to be like, oh, Ivan wrote this song. That's Ivan talking about his feelings. Like, I'm trying not to have it be weird on that level. I want it to be weird on every level except the like my voice part, which I want to just be good enough so that you can listen to the song and be like, cool, yeah, I get it. That's a song. I get it. So I'm sorry that I don't have advice for you, but hold on a second. Emily Hopkins like literally just put out a video yesterday that is about like doing this with pedals. She has something that's like a microphone that you can plug into pedals or something. I'm serious. Do you know what I'm talking about? This person right here, this chucklehead, LMFAOOOOO, Emily Hopkins, go to her YouTube channel and look up the video she put out yesterday where she just talks about how to sing into your pedals. That's the answer to your question. Man, Emily, I'm glad you were here. Okay. And look, here we go. This guy also had it. Use a mic into a mixer and use the sense to go to a pedal board. Yeah, well, that's also how you could do it. The good answers all around. See, that's why I like doing these AMAs, is because like people help each other out. I get up here and I'm like, oh, I don't know if my Wi-Fi works, and then everyone else is like, here's a good answer to your question, don't be afraid, here's the answer. That's what I like about doing these. Okay, he was just banging out all the pedal questions. Night Sky versus GFI Tempest. I don't have the GFI Tempest. I love the Night Sky though. I love the Night Sky. Night Sky rules my life. Best reverb pedal out there. Well, I just told you that I like the Night Sky. That comes to mind. Any Strymon reverb I'd like. What are the other ones I have? Oh, the Alexander Space Force is pretty cool. That has a bunch of sounds in it, and some of them are weird, and some of them are totally normal and good. I think they all sound good. And it's small. It has a screen. I know screens, like some people don't fuck with screens, but it's small and it like, fits on a pedal board. And I think I don't know how much it costs. I don't know how much pedals cost because they're just given to me now. I'm sorry. I haven't bought a pedal in a couple of years, but But so Space Force by Alexander Pedals. Look at this. I really don't know why your channel isn't more popular. You're fucking cool as hell. And well, thanks. I appreciate that. If it really bothers you that my channel isn't more popular, you could join the channel. You could give me your money every month. That's one option. You could also just like post my videos everywhere. Are you doing that? Do you wake up every day and post my videos on Facebook and Reddit? I'm not saying you have to, but if you're stressed out about me not being more popular, you could take matters into your own hands. If you weren't doing music stuff for a living, where do you think you would have ended up in this post-agricultural? Very good. Very good. I like it when the question makes me laugh. I put the questions on the screen before I'm done reading them. It's a very dangerous way to live. So anyway, yeah. Wait, sorry, we got to go back to Antoine. I'd be telling my homies when I kiss them goodnight. Amazing. Amazing that. First of all, I'm glad you're kissing your homies goodnight. That's being a good friend. And then also I liked it when you kiss them goodnight, you tell them about my YouTube channel. I know that you have a lot of choices about what YouTube channel to recommend when you do your goodnight kiss recommendations, and I appreciate that you would choose me in that exact scenario. All right, let's go back to the one that made me laugh. If you weren't doing music stuff for a living, where do you think you would have ended up? I don't know. I did do stand-up for a while. I did do some stand-up comedy for a while. I had a couple of cool things that I did. I invented this thing called Email Pro, which you could still sort of find on the internet if you really hunt for it, where I would write emails to people. I did like an email performance art thing. I was kind of funny. I was kind of good at stand-up. The reason, what the problem was that like I didn't really like have jokes. Like I would just get up there and do crowd work. It was this shit. Like sometimes I would come up with a joke and then I'd like try to do it again. And I would just be like, oh, I like it when I just make them up. And then I would do like weird, like email performance art shit. I thought it was cool. I wasn't terrible at it, but, did the music pedal shit took off better. Also, I like being a musician more. When I was a kid, I fantasized about being a guitar player. Like that's just what I always wanted. I was also a proofreader and a copy editor for a while, but that was hard for me emotionally. I had sort of a personality crisis while I was working full time as a copy editor. So I was like fixing people's grammar mistakes. I worked at a magazine fixing grammar mistakes. That was my day job for a while. I don't do it anymore though. And I had like a low-key nervous breakdown while I did that. Have you experimented with those old Tascam cassette recorders? I haven't. I just use the cassette saturation mode on the new Strymon Deco. That's what I do. But yes, they do have a lo-fi compressing that you're talking about. It does sound good. Favorite new comic? I like Mike Norman. See, I don't know who's new really. Shane Gillis makes me laugh. I was watching some stuff he did before this. He makes me laugh. I know he got canceled for using racial slurs against Chinese people. I don't want to condone that. I think he's funny though. I do like the way he responded to getting hired and then fired by Saturday Night Live in the same day. I mean, first he issued an apology that was sort of annoying, where he was like, I'm sorry if I did offend anybody. That, I agree when people say that doesn't really count. But then after that, he was like, don't cry for me that I got fired by Saturday Night Live. Like part of what's funny is pushing boundaries. And what did he say? He's going to say it better than I'm going to say it. He was like, look, like part of trying to be funny is to say stuff that is like taking a chance. And if you never took any chances, you wouldn't be funny. And in order to take chances, you're going to say stuff that does alienate some people. And I did that. And that's why I lost a job at Saturday Night Live. Don't cry for me. I respect him for that. I'd love to be able to have an answer to this question that doesn't then require me to like distance myself from the person so that I don't get canceled. I don't know. My friend Chris Duffy is a comedian. He's funny. You should look up Chris Duffy. That guy's hysterical. Can I think anybody else? Everybody's really funny these days. We live in a golden age of comedy. Oh, who are the guys who did the Joe Rogan takeoff with Tim Heidecker? Remember those guys? like Tim Heidecker pretended to be Joe Rogan and he put out like a 12-hour podcast where they're just like saying the dumbest shit. The other comedians in that were really good. Oh, Sam Morril, yeah, he's funny. I saw him host a comedy competition at Caroline's like 5 years ago, where my friend was in. Remember when I just said Chris Duffy, the comedian? I went to support my friend Chris Duffy in some bullshit comedy contest because I'm a good friend at Caroline's, and Sam Morril was the host. This was like 6 years ago. The hardest I've ever laughed in my life at stand-up comedy was at that night, and it wasn't even Chris's joke. Chris was funny, but then Donnell Rawlings came up and did a surprise set. He was like, a lot of people would recognize him because he was in the Chappelle Show sketches. He came up and just did a surprise set, and it's the hardest I've ever laughed at a live comedy show. He talked about how he had he fucked up his knee. He was like playing basketball and he broke a thing in his knee. And I'm gonna describe the joke, and it's not gonna be as funny as when he did it. I'm gonna ruin the joke, but I love describing jokes and then talking about why they're funny, even though then that makes them less funny. I understand that it makes them less funny, but I still love doing it. So I'm just going to describe his joke. He talks about how he fucked up his knee playing basketball. And then he talks to everybody who's like, a lot of people break their ACL. That's a thing. Like, how many people here have broken their ACL? He's like, stand up. And like, people stand up. And he's like, give them a round of applause. They broke their ACL. That's a thing. People who break their ACL talk to each other. People know what that is. You tell people they know what it is. I tore my patella. And the way he just says, I tore my patella, is funny. And like, it made me laugh really hard because I don't know how he did it, but he was able to deliver it in a way that just makes the sound of the words patella pathetic. Like, he was able to make the sentence, I tore my patella, like this really complicated, self-deprecating joke where like just from the sound of the word patella, you think that he's a loser. And you're like, oh yeah, that is disgusting that you tore your patella. It's gross that you did that. And I thought it was like the most brilliant thing ever that he was able to do like humor. He was like able to do comedy on the phonemes of the word patella. And it made me laugh so hard that I was missing the other stuff. I had to like stop laughing so that I could like keep paying attention. Look at Wrapped in Gray. See, Wrapped in Gray is like one of the MVPs of these Ask Me Anythings. Literal kneecap bone. Seems hard to tear. I didn't know that. I just thought it was like the loser bone. That's what I got from the guy's bit. I see, you know more than I do. I just thought it was the loser bone. Any tips for loop-on-loop soundscaping with long delays? I never do that. You know, I'm sorry, man. Try to play cool shit. That's my advice for you. You know, work on your ear training. That was a slightly more serious suggestion. You know, if you hear a note in your head, can you figure out what scale tone it is? You know, if you hear there's your root. Do you know that that's the major seventh? You know, that kind of shit. If you could do that, it's especially because with long delays, you got all the time in the world, right? You play one note and then you play another note. You know, if you're moving that quickly, which is to say, if you're moving that slowly, you know, it's like very possible to just like hear the notes before you do them. I mean, it's possible to do that at any speed, but it's a lot easier if you're just doing slow shit with a long delay. So, you know, if you can't do that, I would say work on your ear training. Loser Bone is a good band name. It is. Good call. It is a good band name. All right, let's go back to the pre-submitted questions. Here's one from the... Oh, you emailed me my suggestion for critiquing another YouTube channel. Dude, I can't check my email. I've already fucked up this live stream enough. I can't go check my email, dude. I'm sorry. You got to put it in a comment. I'm not going to get to my email until after this is over. I'm really sorry, dude. So, you know, if you can dare to put it in a comment, then I'll do it. But I'm not going to see my email while I'm doing this. Have you seen the Mega FM synth uses the Sega Genesis sound chip? Thought you might like it. That's amazing. Was that done by a YouTuber? Was that the guy who has a YouTube channel where he does shit like that? It's called like Look Mom, No Computer or something like that. If I'm thinking of that, then I have seen it. Either way, no, that's cool that he uses the Sega Genesis sound chip. Although part of me also thinks like you don't need the Sega Genesis sound chip to sound like a Sega Genesis. You know, you just need some ears. You can make a fuzz pedal sound like a Sega Genesis. You know, just get any fuzz pedal and turn the tone knob all the way down. It's like kind of going to be a square wave. You see what I'm saying? If you're spending a lot of money just to get a synth because it has really the Sega Genesis thing, I feel like you don't need to be spending that money. You can make anything sound like anything. Okay, so sorry, but I got sidetracked again. What was I talking about a second ago? Oh yeah. I got to do another question from my list. I got to do this. Have you ever played a riff so sick it got somebody pregnant? From one of my ultra mega subscriber members. Thank you. From Sonia or Sonja. It's Sonia, right? I'm so sorry if I'm saying. See, this is why loyalty badges are a problem, right? It's because you get the loyalty badge. You're like giving me money on a monthly basis. I don't even know how to say your fucking name. You know what I mean? Like I'm aware of how disgusting that is. You know, I'm not oblivious to it. That I'm like, is your name Sonja? Sorry, let me get it on the screen. Sonia. I'm gonna say Sonia. Okay. Have you ever played a riff so sick it got somebody pregnant? Not that I know of. I doubt it. I doubt it. No one's ever come up to me after a show and been like, "Hi, the Immaculate Conception has occurred yet again because of your guitar playing." It's never happened that I know of. I mean, I don't even think that my guitar playing is even really why I had any of the girlfriends I ever had. I don't really think they were ever like, "Ooh, he's a guitar player." You know what I mean? I feel like that's, maybe I'm wrong, but I guess what I'm saying is not even close. Have you gone through a Tangerine Dream phase yet? That band was covered in the college course I took called Computers and Music. And so I went through a phase during that semester, but I didn't then have more of a phase than that. All right, let's keep banging through these questions. All right. Oh, Wrapped in Gray is here. Let's do that question. Oh, sorry. First, I have to do this. I'm trying to like just clear out the docket. What qualities do you look for in a new band? Well, really, I just I want it to sound good and be surprising. Like I don't want it to sound like they're doing shit that I already know. I want to be like, oh yeah, that was cool and good. I didn't think they were going to do that. I like that quality. What would impress you with the new band if you saw them live? Well, no tracks, no backing tracks. Everybody uses backing tracks. I'm not going to say that I can't love a band that uses backing tracks because like almost everybody does. I'm not saying that they all need to get round up and shot or anything. I'm just saying that if you don't use backing tracks, I think that's pretty cool. So I appreciate that. No backing tracks would be cool. I don't like sort of cute in between song banter where you're just like, ha, 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 ha. I don't really like that. Generally, I don't like it when musicians like try to be funny because I think they're usually not funny. You know what I mean? Comedians are funny. It's like, how terrible would it be if you went to like see a comedian and then he was like, all right, I've been telling jokes for a while, but now I'm going to play Wagon Wheel. That'll be the worst thing ever. That's why Tim Heidecker plays songs after his comedy sets. That's my understanding of what he's doing, is he's making fun of that impulse. I feel like it's just as bad when musicians try to be funny. So, and I say this as someone who like did stand up. Like I have a sort of an attitude about this. You know what I mean? Like I'm not even that I think I'm a good comedian or anything, but I just feel like here's what happens to me. If I go to a show and the musician starts trying to be funny, I'm like, why don't you go to a fucking open mic and try it? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you try to do a comedy set? See how much you like it. See how many laughs you really get when it's not just a bunch of your fucking cultists like eating out of the palm of your hand. I'm a hostile person, so I think this kind of shit a lot. Okay. All right. So see, look, I have to disagree. Ween is funny. I don't really think they are funny. I don't really think anyone's funny. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes stuff makes me laugh. I like it if it makes me laugh, but it's like not trying to make me laugh. Like I don't really like Weird Al. I get that he's a hardworking guy. I get it, but like I don't think that stuff is funny. Like think about how much funny stuff is. Like watching The Simpsons is funny. You know what I'm saying? Like Tim Heidecker is funny. Maria Bamford is funny. like you listen to a good comedian and then you put on Weird Al Yankovic and you tell me like, yeah, Weird Al makes me laugh too. Like, I just don't buy it. You know, maybe he's like delightful. Maybe you like him because you think he's like a delightful schlub or something. But you know, I've said enough. Weird Al is a hardworking guy. Okay, he never hurt anybody. So why am I talking shit? I don't need to be talking shit. So I'm sorry. Take it back. All right, let's do Raptor and Gray's question. This is a long one. Always curious. Oh, this is like a two-parter. Always curious to hear people's process for transcription, learning by ear. What's yours? I first learned music on piano, so the whole on a guitar fretboard you can play an E in this octave here and here has always thrown me for a loop and definitely plays a part in my feeling more intimidated by having to transcribe on guitar. Okay, so the question here is, what's my process for learning by ear and transcription? I'm going to treat those as two separate things because my transcription skills are terrible. I'm not good at transcribing at all. If you mean that I hear something and then I know how to write it in music notation, I'm just not good at that. I can figure it out by ear. We're going to get to that in a second. But I'm just not good at like knowing that like that rhythm is like a quarter note and then a dotted whatever. I'm not good at it. And my ability to read music is also very bad. I can't sight read. You know, if I look at music, I'm like, every good point is a D. It's a D. You know, that's me reading music. So I'm not very good at that. I had a gig earlier this year for the first time ever. I got a gig playing in a pit for like a musical theater production. It was like a one-off thing. It was like a special one-off showcase for a bunch of producers, but they had like a full band and choreography and everything. And I got recommended for it because somebody knew the director. So they were like, yo, you should use Ivan. He's good at guitar. So I got the call. I didn't even have to audition. They were just like, okay, you're supposed to be good. You could do this. And I've never been in a pit before or anything, but I just said yes. You know, why the fuck not? It was a paid thing. So the schedule was like one rehearsal and then the show. And then they sent me like 20 songs in sheet music. And like, that's when I knew that like everybody was going to be good. If you get hired for something and there's like one rehearsal and a lot of material, but it's just one rehearsal, that means that everybody's going to be good because they only need one rehearsal. If you get hired for something and it's like one show, but they want to rehearse you for like a week and a half, it's because like people need a week and a half to get it. You see what I'm saying? So like when I realized it was like one show, I was like, oh, everybody's just going to come in and sight read this. This is going to be like musical theater pros. These are going to be like people who like went to music school and shit. So then I started worrying because like I can't read. Luckily the material was like a jukebox musical for a real rock band. So all the songs had been released by this rock band. So I was able to look up everything and hear it. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So I would like listen to the songs and look at the sheet music and I could be like, oh, here they want me to, I can read music well enough so that if I learn the song by hearing it, then I can read it and see where I am. And if I listen to it while I'm looking at it, I can be like, okay, they want me to play the horn part here. And it looks like that part's different. So I got to figure that out. But I have to listen to a lot of songs and like make a lot of notes on the sheet music and stuff. And I was like kind of nervous about it. Like I had to do like junior varsity bullshit where if there was like some melody shit, I just wrote above it what each of the notes was, like E, C sharp, B, F sharp, G sharp, like above each note, I just wrote what the letter was. So I was like, I can't let the music director see my notes because then he's just going to know that I don't know how to do this shit. And then I started wondering, like, should I tell him that like I don't read music well? Like, should I just be like, listen, man, I can play anything and I can hear anything, but my ciphering skills aren't very good, just so you know. Should I tell the music director that? And then I decided not to, just because, you know, people in New York City don't do that if they're professionals. Like I live on both sides of this because I hire musicians too from Cyber Attack live shows. I hire musicians. So like, I know what it's like to be the working guy, but I also know what it's like to hire people and be the band director. And like, if somebody took my gig and was like, just so you know, I have the synthesizer that you need, but I don't use it that much. So it might take me a little longer. I'm just going to be like, bro, I'm just going to hire someone who can do it. You know what I mean? It's New York City. Like there's a lot of people who can do it. So I decided not to say, hey, I can't read music that well. I just decided like I have to learn this shit and show up and do it. And if, you know, I was like, well, what if I get fired? And then I was like, it's okay. I'm not really trying to be a musical theater guitar player. Like if I have to get fired, I'll just get fired. Like I played out the fantasy for myself where like I get there and by 10:30 a.m. he's like, I got to give everybody a new chart. And then I'm like, can you like sing me the chart? Because I'm not gonna be able to read it. You know, what's he gonna do then? He'll be like, Ivan, why don't you just pack up your stuff and go? I'm gonna call the guy I used on my last production. And I was like, if that's what happens because I don't tell this guy that I might not be able to do it, I accept death. You know, and you can do a lot after you turn that corner. You know, if you're not afraid to die, you can do a lot of stuff after that. So I was like, if the worst case scenario is I get fired, I can live with that. And the best case scenario is that I just convince everybody that I can read because I'm going to prepare so much. And I took a lot of notes on my score. I listened to the songs a lot. Some of the songs were in different keys, so I would buy the song and then put it in GarageBand, and then use a GarageBand pitch shifter to put it in the new key so I could play to it. And those songs sounded so stupid because GarageBand pitch shifting is stupid, but I was able to learn the stuff, and it went pretty well. But then at one point in the rehearsal, the music director was like, we got to change measure 47. And he went around to everybody in the band and gave them their new parts by dictating notation. He would be like, Stevie, measure 47, put a dotted quarter note on B flat, then then a quarter note rest, tie that to an eighth note rest. And then you got to play it. And he was like dictating the notation. And like, that is right on the line of stuff I may or may not be able to do. So as he was going around, I was like, oh, fuck, I hope mine is like quarter notes or something, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this when he comes to me. If he sings it to me, I'll do it. But if I have to do it in notation, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. So then he got to me and he was like, Ivan, what are you doing there? And I played my thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then he kept going. So I was like, whew, dodged a bullet. So nobody ever knew that I couldn't read. I faked the whole thing. Afterward, people were like, what other shows are you in? So the story here is that you can do a lot if you have a good ear, and you can do a lot if you're willing to prepare. You know, I actually didn't get a lot of work done for like the week and a half before this show. I mean, for the amount of money I was paid, it like wasn't even a good deal because I had to like spend a week learning all this shit because I was so insanely stuck on having to prove that I could do it even though I can't read. It became sort of like a sports thing that it was like Michael Jordan when he takes it personally and he has to win. I got there. But then I convinced everybody that I knew what I was doing. So the answer to your question is I'm not good at transcription. But the other question was ear training, right? How do so learning by ear, right? Okay, well, so ear training is important, you know? I mean, I'm not the first person to say that, but being able to hear, to be able to know what notes are before you hear them is important. And if you're new to this, you know, the way people do it is not that they just memorize what a C sharp sounds like and then they just have C sharp in their mind all the time. Some people do that, but that's called having perfect pitch. And if you can't already do that, don't worry about it. What you want to do instead is sort of memorize the sound of every interval, right? So if like this is a root, that's a perfect fifth, you know, you want to get those. If this is a root, that's a perfect fifth. This is a root, that's a major third. You know, you want to be able to go, there's 12. Root, minor second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh octave. The way to do this is to think of a song for each thing. So Star Wars starts with the perfect fifth. The beginning of that, that's a perfect fifth. So, you know, you can look this up. I'm not the first person to walk you through this, but start with the intervals. Once you get that, see if you can like play a scale, play a pentatonic scale and sing every note, you know, in the scale. See if you can play the scale and hear what the next notes are going to be. Try to connect your hand to your singing ability it doesn't matter if you can sing well. The point is that you sort of have the note in here and you have the note at your fingertip and those are joined. That's what you want. And then, the other thing is that every key is just going to be 7 chords. We're doing a little bit of music theory now, but this is important shit, right? If you're in the key of G, that's going to be 7 notes out of the G major scale, right? If you were in the key of G, you could play a G major scale from G, which is going to be 7 notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? G, A, B sharp, C, D, E, F sharp, G, just 7 notes. Those are the notes that are in key. You could also build a chord off of each of those notes. And then you get 7 chords that are in the key, right? And when people talk about the 1 chord and the 4 chord and the 5 chord, that's what they mean. They mean the chord made from the first note, chord made from the 4th note, and the chord made from the 5th note. And every key is going to have those chords you can make out of those notes. And it's always going to be the first chord is major, then the second chord is minor, third chord is minor, fourth chord is major, fifth chord is major, sixth chord is minor, seventh chord is diminished. You can start to hear those chords as having their own little identities, like going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord in any key is going to sound a certain way. So start to think of the songs you like and see if you can figure out like, oh, that song is just a 1-4-5, or that song is just a 1-6-4-5, or that song is a 2-5-1, or, see if you can start to do that. Do all the things I'm just saying. And then, this will start to develop your ear to the point where as you hear stuff, you can figure it out. I mean, if I can't fall asleep at night, I'll think of a song in my mind and try to figure out what the chords to it are without playing. I'll just sort of like try to hear the song in my head as slowly as possible and think like, okay, let's pretend it's in the key of E. That first chord is E. I think that next chord has to be an F sharp minor. It just feels like it's a whole step up, and it's got that second chord, the 2 chord minor vibe. I'll see if I can figure out a song. That's the kind of shit I'll just do in my head. Sometimes when I cover songs in my little pedal videos, if they're in a wrong key, or even if there's like something a little different about it, a lot of times it's because I just figured out the song in my head and then I didn't check. I was just like, I think that's how it goes. Let's say that's how it goes. So that's a good exercise. And then it's important also to be able to sing, even if you can't sing well, being able to sing like a root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 7th, major 9th, being able to hear that in your head and know that's what those notes are. All of that will just help you be able to hear music and know that's what that is. And it'll help your improvisation. So, I think I have a pretty good ear. There's people who have better ears than me, but I think I have a pretty good ear. And that's why I'm able to do shit, even though I can't read music so well. So that's my question. Oh, look at this question I just got. What's the best practice exercise to strengthen ear training? I think I just told you, right? This question must be old, right? Please confirm that I've already addressed this question. I'm not much better with the sheet music thing, even after doing band combo in high school. Definitely weren't just learning band. Dude, I did band combo in high school too. And every time I was on that gig, I was like, oh, this is just like high school shit. And I hadn't done any of that, like DS all the coda or whatever. I hadn't done any of that since high school. It really, I feel like I'm a person who's like in touch with the high school mentality. I still feel like I remember vividly what it was like to be a teenager. Even for me, I was like reliving it so intensely because it was like, this is just like being in Mr. Silverman's jazz band. And the funny thing too would be shit like what happened when the music director would be like, okay, everybody, remember to get quiet at measure 46. And I would make a note. I would be like, quiet. And then I would notice that like right next to where I wrote it, the score already said P. And I'd be like, oh shit, that's what P means. It was already there. And everybody else like didn't write it because everyone was just like, yeah, Ivan doesn't know what P means. You know what I mean? I only had a couple of those though. All right. Okay. So yes, so this is, your training is good. Figuring out songs you like is good, because then you'll start to get this sort of like backlog of little tricks, stuff like if you're in a major key and you play the 2 chord as a major instead of a minor, that has a sound. Like sometimes I'll be in the supermarket and I'll hear a song and I'll be like, oh, they just went to the major 2 chord, or they'll do like the 6th chord will be major instead of minor. Those have sounds you can start to use those. There's a million examples of this, but you're talking about interval recognition, but what's the best way to exercise that muscle? Yeah, okay. Well, here's an exercise. So just pick up your guitar or your piano and just pick a melody that you know, but you haven't figured out. Use like this theme from The Simpsons, or use like the, Happy Birthday, and just try to play it blind. Just stone cold. Just hit a note and then try to sing Happy Birthday in the key of that note and play it from where you are. See if you can do that. Oh, and you know what else is a good exercise to do? This is what my guitar teacher had me do it like towards the end of the program. Record yourself playing a million random chords, like strum a G major and just let it, and record it and just let it fade out. And then strum like an E flat major 7, and then strum like a A flat minor 7 flat 5, and then strum a F, augmented, and then strum like a B flat sharp 9, whatever. Just a bunch of chords that are in different keys that are just a lot, and then do so many that you don't remember what you did. And then a week later, put on the recording and close your eyes and play one random note somewhere on your instrument. And that one random note will either be consonant or dissonant with the chord you're playing over, and you need to now correct, or if you're already correct, like just play down the scale. I don't know what scale. You're not even supposed to know what scale. Just play a note and then play up or down sequential notes, and it's going to be half steps or whole steps, and see if you can just harmonize the chord. By which I mean just play in the key of whatever chord it is. You're not going to know what the chord is. That doesn't matter. Just use your ear to be like, okay, I just played a note. If it's wrong, it's a half step away from being right. And then once you get on the right note, just try to walk down the scale or walk up the scale and see if you can hit the right notes over this chord you don't know what it is. And then, there's going to be a new chord that you played a week ago that you forgot what it was, and do the same thing for that one. That's a good exercise to do too. The point here is just to be able to hear shit in your head and then know, okay, that's a whole step away. That's a tritone away. That's a minor third down. And it's not that me using the words right now isn't even the point. Like, it's that you just sort of know, like the note is there. It's like your finger goes to it. That's what you want to get to. Okay. Okay, look at this one. Hey, what's good? What's your favorite pedal you've been using lately? That should be easy for me, right? Yeah, I use the Strymon Iridium all the time, that fake amp modeler. That's a good one. And I also like the 5150 distortion. Is just a really great saturated distortion pedal I love. Can you also save this to your channel? Totally, dude. Of course, this is going to live on my channel. All my AMAs live on my channel forever. No issue there. All right, let's go back to my backlog. Let's go back to the backlog. Oh, here's a fun one. Here's a really fun one. What is your D&D alignment? This is from JMac Bass. Now, I guess there's two things you could be asking here. One is, when I play Dungeons and Dragons, what alignment do I like to be? The answer to that is like lawful neutral. Like my favorite, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in a long time, but I like to be someone where they just like have the rules and that's what they do. Like a monk who sort of like doesn't even care about good or evil, just cares about like having a good opponent. You know what I mean? Like the wandering fighter who just wants to take on new foes and then gets sucked up into some adventure where they have to save people, but that's not what they would have done. I like being that kind of character. So lawful because they like, they care about a fair fight. Like they're not going to cheat in their grudge matches. Basically like Ryu in Street Fighter is what I'm trying to do every time, right? They're not going to throw sand in your eyes. Like they want to beat you fair and square, but all they really care about is like, martial arts, or like the having a foe and defeating the foe, like it, like sports is it. But in terms of who I am in real life, I think I'm probably just lawful good. I mean, I think I'm good. There's an argument that I'm not good. I mean, I guess there are a few arguments for that, but the one that I think I'm vulnerable to is just that, like, there's so many conflicts in the world, so many people are in need, and what do I ever really do about it? I could be spending much more of my time trying to help the villagers, right? Like in D&D, if you're good, it's like you see the villagers and you just go help them as soon as you see them. They're like, the dragon is going to kill us. Who will help us? And if you're good, you have to go kill the dragon. Well, the version of that in real life, where it's like, half of the country of Pakistan is fucking flooded, and they're like, help, 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 help. I didn't do anything for those people. You see what I'm saying? So by that logic, maybe I'm not good, which I worry about. I mean, I like contribute to Children's International. I don't mind like helping people when they ask me for money on the street or whatever. I do my little bullshit things, but they're little bullshit things. So there's an argument in which maybe to be good in today's world, you have to be killing the dragons, and I worry that I'm not. And I'm not letting myself off the hook. I'm just saying it's a source of moral stress for me. But if like, believing that people should try to do what's right, and like believing in the dignity of others, and like, even feeling the pang of what I just said, if that counts as being good, then I think I am good. So that's how I say I'm good. And then I pick lawful because, I have a sort of absolutist tendencies, I see things in terms of like, well, that there's good and evil, and we have to oppose evil, I don't think that I'm like an insane fundamentalist, like I try to be sensitive to the subtleties of the issues, but I tend to be someone who thinks like, I'm talking about drawing a line in the sand here, and over this line you do not. You know what I mean? Like I sort of relate to Walter in The Big Lebowski when he talks about things like, just having a real grip on reality, and like just sort of insisting that there is such a thing as right and wrong. I'm sympathetic to that style of thought. But, artistically, I try to be sort of chaotic and weird, right? Like my whole YouTube channel is about getting shit to break. And musically, I try to do stuff that is surprising and glitchy, and is like, I made the pedal break. That's what you're listening to. So there's a sense in which you might expect me to be chaotic, right? Because I named my channel Cyber Attack, and it's true that I do like a certain wild and free quality in music and whatever else I'm working on, and that might seem chaotic. But even here, I actually think I'm still lawful. I love this question. Thanks for being a geek with me. Thank you for asking me a Dungeons and Dragons question. Even here, I think I'm still lawful because when I do my glitchy bullshit, I'm like still trying to make it beautiful. And I believe there's a difference between beautiful and not beautiful. And I can't always defend this part, but I do think that, like, I don't know why, but like Jimi Hendrix's feedback when he plays the national anthem of Woodstock, that sounds better than other people's feedback. There's like good noisy bullshit and bad noisy bullshit. And I feel like, all we can do is sort of close our eyes and listen to it and try to hear the difference. Maybe I'm just making that up, but I believe I can hear it. And anytime I try to make glitchy bullshit, I'm trying to do more than glitchy bullshit. I'm trying to actually then make it beautiful somehow. And I'm willing to take as long as it takes to like write the song where it is beautiful, and to find like some other melody with it, or find some other chord, or find something that'll make it beautiful. So, and I believe that exists, like in some absolute sense. I mean, it sounds crazy when you put it that way, but that's like what I'm in pursuit of when I work on this stuff. And that to me is like a lawful approach. Lawful is the wrong word for it, but there is a sort of like, there's like a belief that like the aesthetic beauty of it is like a thing that exists that you could grab or miss, but I'm trying to grab it. And like that to me is like how a lawful Dungeons and Dragons character thinks. Okay. Did someone give you a hickey? No. No. These are fake tattoos. These are fake tattoos. All right. What other questions? Did I miss any? Did any come in while I was talking about all that weird crazy shit just now? Oh, here's another one from one of my loyalty subscribers. Who or what has been your inspiration during your musical journey? Well, there's a couple things here. Um, oh, I missed your previous one. So you got to repost it. I'm sorry, man. If I scrolled past it in the chat, too much shit happened. Just repost it. I'm sorry, dude. Let me go back to my loyalty person, though. Who or what has been your inspiration during your musical journey? There's a couple things. I've talked about my favorite bands on a lot of these before. I'm going to try to answer the question on a deeper level now, though. One is like I am competitive. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that just like wants to be more successful and like wants to show off and like wants to do shit that like people I went to high school with are going to notice and be like, oh shit, Ivan was on that record, or like Ivan knows so and so, or Ivan has 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, or whatever it is. Like there's just a pure sort of like Michael Jordan competitiveness that I sort of get. And then I feel like the video is getting sort of grainy. Let me turn on some lights. Oh, that's bad. It's worse. Look at that backlit bullshit. Hold on. Okay. All right, let's try that. Do I even look better? I kind of don't, but I'm gonna stop fucking with the lights at this point just to keep the thing going. So yeah, I don't know. There's just like a sheer sort of like grim desire to have more that keeps me going sometimes. But there's also this light is I can't. I'm sorry. It was just like I had like such fucking terrible bags under my eyes. I was just like, why am I even putting this on the internet if I'm going to look that terrible? Okay. So, but then also there is a sort of like wonder. Like I just told you that I believe that there's a difference between like good feedback from Jimi Hendrix and like bad feedback from like some shitty local band. And like I don't even understand why that would be. I don't. But there's a part of me that just like wants to keep swimming toward it. Like, or why, if I play like some really sort of open, extended voicing of like an E major 9 chord on a guitar, why does it sound so good? Like there's a part of me that is just like dumbfounded by it and just is like, it's like the scene in the movie where they like see the alien spacecraft and they just like walk towards it before they even know if it's a good idea. And like the one chick is like, no, don't. And then the other person is just like in the trance and it's like, I have to touch it. Like that's how I feel. You know what I mean? Part of me is just like, what if there's something even more beautiful than an E major 9 chord in my favorite voicing? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do if there's something even better than that? So there's that feeling too. And then also, I'm still very like, one of my coping mechanisms for like aging and whatever is to just insist that like my best work is ahead of me. Like I haven't peaked yet. Like I'm not, my prime is today. My prime isn't even today. My prime is going to be next week. I'm going to do the best shit I've ever done next week. Like that's basically how I deal with like the horror of mortality, is just to be like, I haven't even started to do cool shit yet, man. Everything I've done before is just going to be a run up to the next thing I'm going to do. Is going to be even fucking cooler. That's how I deal with the terror of age. So, these are how I keep doing stuff. I'm not even sure it's like super healthy. Like a lot of the things I've described to you, give me a certain amount of ongoing background anxiety. I'm not trying to hide that at all. I'm just answering your question. All right, here's the one I missed. How much time do you have to mess around with music per day? It depends. Like if I have to sort of set up my Patreon tiers or whatever, that eats into the time, like having to come up with like a avatar image for Patreon that looks good, or like having to update my website, which does not look good. If you go to my website, cyberattack.world, it is not good. Fixing shit like that, writing emails, getting work, hustling, freelance hustling, all submitting my stuff, like all that stuff eats up into the day. But then other times I have to make a video where I show you 5 cool things to do with the new pedal, and the only way to do that is to spend a bunch of time with it. So on those days, it's like I have to spend all day doing music, and I can't even procrastinate to do bullshit. So, being a professional musician is like, sometimes you have to do music you don't even want to do. You have to learn songs you don't like. You have to look at some sheet music you don't want to look at, So I have no idea how to answer this question, because there's a sense in which every minute of the day is like in service to having a music career. But I also have very little work-life balance. You know what I mean? Most of my free time is like doing something musical anyway, and all of the musical shit I do is related to my career in some way. So it's either sort of like family time or music, and all music counts as career. So, I guess I try to go running and do push-ups and shit too, but like that's kind of it. Like I used to have a Dungeons and Dragons game, but that I don't have time for shit like that anymore. I don't have hobbies. Dude, look at this person. Yeah, I answered your fucking question, and I talked about your channel, and I made a bunch of jokes that only you would get because they were about your channel, and no one got them because you weren't even here. Anyway, that's the question for that. Could you please do more content with the OP1? Dude, 2 videos, man. 2 videos with the OP1, 10 pro tips. I've never done 2 videos about anything. The OP1 is, I've covered the OP1 more than I've ever covered anything. But if you want more, I will do more. I'm going to do OP1 lessons on live stream. What we're going to do is people who join my Patreon at the highest level, or people who join my YouTube membership at the highest level, we're going to all get on a little live stream party together, and I'm going to talk about how to do OP1. So the answer is yes, but you're going to have to pay money to do it. I appreciate the whole music sports analogy concept that doesn't rely on a correlation between athletics and technique. Yeah, I mean, I think the athletics and technique, there is a correlation to be made there. I don't think that's like preposterous, but that's usually not what I end up talking about. What instead I talk about is a more sort of like mindset issue, the mentality involved, like just what it feels like to sort of charge up the hill artistically or athletically. The will to win is not as important as the will to prepare, all that kind of shit. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. All of that shit I think does apply. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going. All right. Here's an easy one I can just bang out. Just fucking bang it out. Speed round from Jack Markey. You mentioned that you read David Lee Roth's book. I've read it a number of times. Have you had a chance to read Ted Templeman's autobiography? Fascinating stuff. Yeah, I read that book too. It's great. It was co-written or ghost-written by Greg Renoff, who also wrote a book about like the formation of Van Halen called Van Halen Rising. It's great. I've read a lot of books about Van Halen. That's probably my favorite one. Yeah, the Ted Templeman biography is super cool. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. It's a great book. Oh, are you comfortable telling us where you're from? Yeah, your accent is intriguing. I'm from New Jersey. That's it. I'm gonna get a lot of YouTube comments about the accent. It's just New Jersey. All right, that's all there is to it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be snippy. The reason it freaks me out is that sometimes like people say that it doesn't sound like a New Jersey accent, and that freaks me out. It makes me feel like I'm like a race traitor or something like that. You know what I mean? So I have like this sort of attitude about like the possibility that my accent is just some like weird bullshit affectation. And there's nothing I hate more than weird bullshit affectations. I'm a hater, but the worst thing you could ever have is just some like made up little affect. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I hate it on every level. Like if you go to a restaurant and the waiter says thank you much instead of thank you so much, if they do it on purpose. I had this once. I went to a Bear Burger. It's like a New York thing, I guess. And I had one waiter who like 5 times said, thank you much. So it's not that he was just having a stroke for like 1 second. Like that's a thing he says. And like, I hated it. I was like, this person has made poor life choices. You know what I mean? Don't Don't do little things that are just to get attention. You might think I'm full of fucking shit because I have fake tattoos on. And like, what is a fake tattoo except a little bit to get attention? Look, maybe this is the end of me. Okay. Maybe I'm a total fucking hypocrite. I don't know. Get in the comments if that's what you think. I'm not going to stop you. But anything I judge to just be like, I'm wearing a tiny little hat. Please like it. I just hate that. I hate it. And when people tell me that they don't know what my accent is, I get afraid that they think my accent is that. And then I'm like, what if I'm everything I ever hated? You guys ever have to deal with that? This Ask Me Anything got pretty real, right? You guys ever have to just look in the mirror like, what if I'm everything I ever hated? You know, all I can tell you is that my response to the terror of that is just to try to do better work and to write a better song and put out a better YouTube video and be a more real guy and to be the most real guy that ever lived and to be more serious. I just put enormous pressure on myself all the time. Do you think guitar tone is overrated or matters as much as people care about it? I mean, it's fun to care about it. You know, people care about it because it's fun. It's exciting to get a good guitar tone. But I also do think that, most, people say tone is in the fingers. I believe that. I don't know. Let's say it's 90% in the fingers, and then all you can do with gear is the final 10%. Well, it can be fun to nerd out about that final 10%. When people give a shit about the 10% part, I don't think they're saying, well, there's no such thing as tone is in the fingers. I don't think they're contradicting themselves. I just think, you should be able to make anything sound good, and then the rest of it is just like having fun. So does that answer your question? Didn't mean to offend you. No, see, dude, I get this comment every time I do one of these. You didn't offend me. That's okay. I'm just, this is what my personality is. You didn't offend me. I get worked up sometimes. I feel bad that every time I do one of these Ask Me Anythings, people are like, oh, sorry. Like, no. It's fine. I'm from the East Coast. There's like a lot of, I can be sort of a hostile person. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you? I don't fucking know. I don't know what the trees are. I couldn't name 2 trees, right? Maple tree, Christmas tree. I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. I don't know about tree. I wish them the best. I'm sure we're killing them. I'm sure trees are in a terrible spot right now. I'm sure that like the last tree that ever lived is about to die and then the world's going to end. I'm sorry. I never gave a fuck. I don't know about trees. I'm sorry. It's all over. I don't know. You probably didn't offend him. You just wanted to rant. Yeah, exactly right. And see, Wiggles gets it. Wiggles knows me well. All right. Here's okay. All right. Let's do, here's what I wanted to talk about. This is going to be another long one. Guys, heads up. This is going to be another long one. Oh, from Razark. This is a 2-parter. Oh, I put the wrong part up. Wait, it's a 3-parter. Holy shit. I'm a band guy. I love having people to bounce my ideas off of. Ever since the pandemic, I've been kind of stranded with all my music friends in different situations. And it's been hard to get together and play. I've been trying to switch to solo, trying to write everything myself, and it's a bit of a struggle. Switching from being in a band to solo is something that I think you have done. Got any ideas how I can improve? Thank you. Absolutely, I've done it. Absolutely, I have ideas that can help me. I'm happy to share them. And good luck, man. I'm glad you came to me with this because I've been through it myself. So right, yeah, okay. I'm gonna talk about trying to write everything yourself and why that's a struggle. It's definitely hard. My album is an album where I wrote everything myself. Just about. There's one cover song. And there are some of the songs on where I played everything myself too. But I used to be in a band. And I miss being in a band. It's fun to be in a band where, I have a live band, but it's different than when it's like everybody is collaborating and you all have a sort of pact and you're all sort of charging up the hill together. I remember I was in a band that got a gig opening for Sebastian Bach at BB King's in New York. Sebastian Bach was the lead singer of Skid Row. If you remember Youth Gone Wild or 18 in Life, those 80s songs. My band opened for him at BB King's. So that's like 1,000-seat theater, not a theater. It's a like restaurant and club, but it's like at capacity. I think it's like 1,000 people and it was sold out with Sebastian Bach fans. And we were opening and Sebastian Bach was cool backstage. He was like friendly and everything, but his audience was like 80s metalheads. And like, they have sort of a hooligan energy and like, they would say shit like, you suck, or like, we want Sebastian Bach. Yeah, and we were like, it's not even like that band that I was in was like a hard rock band. Like it's not like we were getting up there and trying to play like, you know, Cocteau Twins or something. But whatever. It's just like people who want to see Sebastian Bach are there to see Sebastian Bach, and we had to deal with the kind of hostility. It's why I'm even telling the story. The point is that I remember it's like fun to have to face that with like guys who are on the team with you. It's a little bit different when you have to face it with guys that you hired. You know what I mean? I love the guys I hire and they're my bros, but it's like I hired them. So like if we deal with that hostility from an audience, it's like we're not sharing it. Like they're just getting through the gig. I gotta fucking deal with it. If you go on stage with a band, you can all sort of look at each other and be like, man, fuck these guys, right? Like we'll show them. We're all gonna show them. We're all absorbing this together. So you know, the team, having a team that is like feels like a team can be useful. But you know, I'm not on a team anymore. So what does that tell you? To answer your question, how do you do everything by yourself? Okay, well, so I'm going to give you. I think there's a certain type of songwriting that will make this easier. Which is to sort of like distill everything down to the level of like chord and melody. You know, just come up with a chord progression and put a melody over it. Just strum the chord progression. If you're not like a chord progression guy, if it's riffs, if it's guitar riffs, then that's the same. Play your guitar riff, you know, let's say you write a really fucking cool riff and just record yourself playing that riff and loop it and then try to put a melody over it. I know that in order for this to be a song, you're going to have to put in a bass part and a drum part, and it's going to have a band arrangement. But I'm saying, don't worry about that. Pretend that doesn't exist. Everything is just the riff or the chords and your melody over it. You don't even need words yet. You just need a melody. And if you're not a good singer, that can be cool too, because if you just write a really simple numbskull melody that's easy to sing, that's a good way to write catchy melodies. Like that's what I did. Like I think my melodies are kind of good. And I mean, look, if I can say that, I think my melodies are kind of good. And part of it is because I'm just writing simple shit that I could sing that's like works because it's catchy. It doesn't work because it's fancy. I'm not going to be able to get up there and do Luther Vandross shit. You know what I mean? My melodies are going to have to be easy for me to sing. So they're going to have to be cool, not because I'm showing off. They're just going to be cool because they're cool. You know, simple melodies, if you get an ear for them, can really be, they can save a song. You know, this is why you don't need a drum part yet and you don't need a bass part yet. If you can just come up with the progression and a melody that sort of work, you know, Rubber Soul is maybe a good place to start. That's sort of what I looked to when I was learning this in the beginning. Rubber Soul by the Beatles is like a good melody record, you know, because they're pretty simple too. When I call you up, your line's engaged. That's dynamite, right? It's not hard to sing. There's nothing to it. It's a simple melody. It's got some big gaps right in the middle of it. It's got some space in it, some yummy little jumps. It's just good. So, like, see if you can sort of train yourself to seek melodies that are that simple and good and put them over your riffs and your chords. Just strip everything down to the level of come up with a chord progression you like, you know, wait till you're jamming and you play something cool, and then just grab that little minute that you thought was cool, that little second, and record that and loop it, and then try to put a simple yummy melody over it. And then once you have the melody, just fill it up with words. A good melody only needs medium words. If you have a great melody, you don't need fucking brilliant lyrics. You just need lyrics that are good enough. If you can get a melody that is like catchy, if you can make it that far, you're gonna be fine with the bass and the drum parts. I'm not trying to diminish the like significance of bass and drum parts, and good drummers and basses who can do incredible things that make songs good. But for you, for the sake of just being able to get out the door, just don't worry about it. Because if you can write a cool song with good melodies, it'll be cool even if the drum part is super basic. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to come at this and think, well, like, you know, my favorite drummers are guys like, you know, John Bonham, who made everything sound really sort of like heavy and groovy at the same time. So I need to come up with some sort of magic drum part that's heavy and groovy at the same time. Don't worry about that. You're not a drummer, okay? Just don't worry about it. Like, write the song that has the cool melody and the cool chords, and then worst case scenario, slip a fucking basic beat under it. And if the melody and the chords are cool, the basic beat's going to be cool. The good news is that if you want something better than a basic beat, you can get it. Just find a good drummer. Hire a good drummer. Now, what if you think, well, I can't afford a good drummer? You only need to hire him for like one day, or you only need to hire him for the gig. If you can make the songs cool, they'll be easier to learn, and the guys won't have to spend all day figuring out what to do, right? If you just play somebody a song where it's like, here's how it goes. When I call you up, your lines engage. Yeah, if you can just deliver that as an unfinished idea, any drummer in the world would be like, sure, I can help you make that sound good, And then if they make it sound even better, that's great. But what I'm saying here is like, you're not going to get. What you will be avoiding here is the situation where it's like every member of the band is just sort of looking at each other and no one knows what to play, and it all kind of sounds aimless and stupid. It's not ever going to sound aimless and stupid if you can write something that has like a cool melody over a chord progression. And your songs don't even need to be super complicated. Like, you don't need to start writing a song by saying, okay, we're going to have an intro, and then there's going to be sort of a build up, and then we're going to do the first verse, then we're going to go to like a reprise of the intro. Like, don't build songs from the point of view of giving them a fancy structure. Everything is just, I came up with some little guitar thing that I kind of liked, and then I came up with the melody over that. That's if you can get that far, you have done the most important stuff. And then how the rest of the song goes, just keep it simple. Write a simple little song that just goes with the shit you already came up with. Use the same melody again. Come up with one other melody, and that'll be the verse. Or if it's even better, make it the chorus. Right? All you need is like 2 different kinds of melodies and like this whatever. So that is how I think you should do this. I think you need to sort of strip down your songwriting approach and your idea of what songs are to the most basic level of chords and melodies, and then treat everything else as sort of like superficial arrangement decisions. If you just get a drummer who's halfway decent, if you wrote a cool song, all he has to do is not fuck it up. If you wrote a song that's halfway good, all you need is a bassist who cannot fuck it up. Don't get guys who are trying to show off. And a good drummer is someone who can keep time and will know that his job is to keep time. And then every song that ever was written has a little opportunity right before every verse goes to the chorus for the drummer to do something cool that tells everybody that the verse is about to go to the chorus, and that's going to be his night. Right? Or any good drummer in the world understands that he's going to play some cool beats that are fucking rock solid and keep the tempo locked down. And then 2 or 3 times in every song, he gets to play a fill where it takes the verse to the chorus, and he's got to find a new way to tell everybody, hey, idiots, we're about to do the chorus, right? Any good drummer in the world understands that's what their job is. All you have to do is give them a verse and a chorus. You see how simple it is at this point? Now, it's hard to write a good verse and a chorus, but if you can do that, and if you can recognize that that's your whole job, everybody else who shows up will sort of be able to like get the ball into the end zone. You see what I'm saying? Like, all you got to do is just like throw a good spiral and like get it, throw something that somebody can catch, and then let them run it into the end zone, and that should be it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, right, you get it. It's like simple and also impossible. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that what I just described is, believe it or not, like the easiest way to do it well. Because every other way to do it well is just going to be harder. If you just set out from the get-go to try to write something that's complicated and great, it's just going to be harder than doing it the way I just said. So, good luck. And if you start doing this and it's just, you totally is not working for you, come to my next Ask Me Anything and be like, hey, asshole, I tried to do what you said and it really didn't help me. And I'll break it down for you again and see what else I can do for you, man. I'm here to help. I believe in you. Right. And this is what I did. I was in a band and I was like the chief songwriter of the band. And just because I was that, I was able to do it as a solo guy. I had to take some singing lessons, but you don't have to be a genius when it comes to finding an arrangement if the song is good. You just have to, believe it or not, you just have to be adequate. If you can write the song well, everything else can be adequate. And then luckily, someday, you'll be able to like, I mean, if you want to make it sound good, then all you have to do is hire people and like hire good people, but see if you can lock everything down so good that you only need them for like a day or for a weekend or for a couple of days. Like, see if you can write stuff that's so tight and so figured out and so good just on the compositional level that you can like get a producer and a band of pros and you pay them a lot of money, but you only need them for a few days in a row. They'll come in and bang it out and it'll be great. You can afford top people for a brief amount of time. I mean, maybe you can't if you're fucking broke, but see if you can save up enough money to be able to hire people who are good, pros, real pros whose other stuff you like, and see if you can, get something that's good enough so that just with a day of their time, they're able to do everything you need them to do. That's not unrealistic. Okay. What else we got? Some of these questions I've already addressed. So if I ignore them, it's just because I already did. All you got to do is watch Ask Me Anything from the beginning. I'm not trying to be an asshole. All right. Here's another intense one. Here's another long one. Ooh, man, these Ask Me Anything is kind of intense, aren't they? Having a tough time listening to Steely Dan after hearing your great comments on their singing style. Okay, that's a callback to an earlier Ask Me Anything. Maybe Ask Me Anything number 1, where I sort of criticized Fagen's singing voice. I thought you gave them credit where credit was due, by the way, and the criticism was totally fair. Okay, that's a relief. I don't really just want to talk trash, especially with other musicians. I like Steely Dan. We're all just trying to find the good notes. That's what Pat Metheny said. We're all just trying to find the good notes. Although even Pat Metheny is capable of talking trash sometimes if you fire him up enough. Any other bands where the vocal element brings down the enjoyment of the band as a whole? I play blues piano and really can't sing, but feel like people really want singing, which kind of sucks. Dude, I know you gave me this question already. I can't really think of other bands where like the singing ruins it for me. I tried to think of some. I can't really. I feel like I've already talked about them. How come isn't solos enough? Lastly, did you ever watch much regular hours public access TV growing up in the tri-state area? I did. The public access TV that comes to mind is the Robin Byrd show, which was like a New York public access thing, like in the, I don't remember when it was from, but I was watching it in like the early 2000s. Now I'm from New Jersey, and Robin Byrd was a New York thing, but I had a friend in New York City, and I would go to his house for sleepovers, and like if we could get away with it without his parents finding out, we would watch the Robin Byrd show because it was like a softcore porn show. Like Robin Byrd, I think, was like a sex worker of some kind, and she had this like really classic chatty talk show host vibe, except that she would interview like other strippers and sex workers and stuff, and they would sort of just like make each other laugh and like make out and stuff, and then the strippers would like perform strip teases. And this was when like this was like the late dial-up era, so like online pornography was not the obvious solution. Like internet was still kind of slow enough and dumb enough that like watching public access TV for porn was like a viable option. So we would watch Robin Byrd, and it was like super public access. It was like low budget. It looked like garbage, but Robin Byrd herself was like such a character that it had a vibe. The funny thing about it was that like the porn was not always what you wanted. Or I should say, it's not always what I wanted. Like I remember once, like I got to my friend's house. It was like his parents were gone, so we could watch the Robin Byrd show without getting caught. It was only on for like an hour. We stayed up late to watch it. We missed the beginning because we were stupid. And then we like finally got to the part where it was like, okay, now we're gonna do the porn part. Like now we're gonna do the striptease. And then it was some guy who like took up all his clothes and then did this thing where he like lay on his back and sucked his own dick. and then it ended. And I was like, that's what we did tonight on the Robin Byrd show. Thanks for tuning in. And I was just like, that's useless for me. I'm not trying to be like I don't want to ruin this for anybody else. I know there are people maybe who did want to see a guy suck his own dick that night. I just wasn't one of them. I was like, man, I was like waiting all week to see some porn. I didn't want to see porn of a guy sucking his own dick. That's not what I wanted. That's not the kind of porn I wanted to see. So then, but I was like, 12. That was the other thing. So then it's like me and my friends just looked at each other awkwardly, like, now what do we do? So the answer to your question is yes. Do you ever mess around with constant structure harmony? I have no idea what that is. Feel free to explain it to me, but I do not know what it is. Whoa. Axl Rose and his whole Ethel Merman vibrato kept me from ever getting into Guns N' Roses like everyone else. I did not have that problem. I love Guns N' Roses. I love Guns N' Roses, and I even love Axl Rose. I of course it makes sense to me that some people wouldn't, but that is just not my issue. Oh, look at that from Andre LaFosse, not a self-fellatio aficionado. No, let that be the takeaway. Let that be the takeaway from my Ask Me Anything. I'm not that. If you guys want to see some crazy videos about looping, though, you should check out this guy's YouTube channel. Hi, Andre. Thanks for tuning in. I know your stuff. Everybody should check out that guy's channel if you want some mind expanding. I had a question about looping, and I didn't really know how to answer it. Is that guy still around? Who's the guy who wanted to know about sound on sound looping? And I was just sort of like, work on your ear training. Remember that? Guy, if you're still around, one, sorry for not having a better answer. But this guy, Andre LaFosse, he does have the answer. Sorry, late on this. I know trees. Ivan is a honey locust. Creates sick, dappled light, heavy seed pods, metal thorns up high to thwart the extinct megafauna. Wow, that's a hardcore answer. I understood like half the words in that, but thank you. Oh, okay. There's a funny one. You're not into self-fellatio? You mean you don't like Yngwie Malmsteen's music? Yeah, good joke. Good. I'll say that I could talk a little about how I feel about Yngwie Malmsteen. I feel like he's one of those love or hate guys, but I neither love him nor hate him. I don't hate him. There are things I like about him. There are also some things that I don't like about him. But, I actually like his tone and his feel. Like I think he gets criticized for being sort of a predictable, repetitive shredder. And I think at a certain point he did become predictable and repetitive, but his feel and his tone have been good. Like there's a passion to his, like just his bend vibratos, like are good bend vibratos. And the fact that he uses that single coil sound, I think is so cool. Like the note articulation, when he plays fast, it just sounds cool. And those notes all have a single coil pick articulation that's great. Here's an example. Alcatraz, right? Somebody asked about bands where the vocals kind of kill it. I like Graham Bonnet, but there were major issues with his vocals. He was like a gut singer who would like strain to hit his notes, and sometimes he couldn't do it. I love Graham Bonnet's look. I like that he was sort of dressing like I don't know, like he looked like something out of a Nagel print. He looked like fucking Robert Palmer, but he was in a heavy metal band. I always thought that was cool that Graham Bonnet was doing this like heavy metal Palmer thing. I love his like the hair and the clean white shirt on stage singing a heavy metal song. I thought that was super cool. And when he hits the notes, it's good, but there's like a strain where he could sort of struggle to just like, I don't know, it's like hard to hear somebody struggle that much and not nail it. But some of the solos on those Alcatraz songs are fucking cool. Jet to Jet is an Alcatraz song that might have my favorite Yngwie Malmsteen song of all solo of all time. The solo in Jet to Jet is just so cool. The fast playing is great, but there's like lines and melodies in it too. The feel is great. The Van vibrato is great. The lyrics to that song are a big issue. If I'm going to send a bunch of people to check out that song, you will notice that the lyrics are very, very problematic and weird. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I do think Yngwie Malmsteen, there's like the tone is cool, the single coil Fender thing I love. I also just like how aesthetically how everything was like the white Fenders, the black leather clothes, and the red Ferraris. I mean, I know probably a bunch of people think it's annoying that he made red Ferraris like part of his aesthetic, but I feel like it kind of works. Like, I just like that guy who plays like that made his whole sort of brand identity: white Fender, black leather clothes, red Ferraris. Like, those three things look good together. It's like a good palette. So I don't hate him. But the reason I don't love him is that I just think he's like, I'm just over the A harmonic minor thing. I just think it's like everything he plays sounds the same. And also his last few records that he's like been engineering himself, like they kind of don't sound good anymore. Like you can hear like he doesn't even trim the waveforms. Like you can hear the hiss before he starts playing. Like it's like he's not even like editing his tracks down the way you do. But I think he's a good guitar player. Okay, all right. What else? What was your first musical instrument and how'd you get into trying to be a musician? Can you describe what kind of musician you want to be or trying to become? Oh man, I wish I got this one earlier. I thought we were in the part of the show where I was just going to answer a couple last minute bullshit ones and talk bullshit about Yngwie Malmsteen. This is like the kind of shit I spend like a huge amount of time on. I took piano lessons as a kid, but it like didn't really click, I like learned how to read music and shit, but I could play I could play some Bach little things, and I could play, the Ice Cream Truck song. I could play The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, but it just didn't really click. And crucially, I wasn't learning anything about like how to use music to do stuff, Like I just thought anyone who wrote music or improvised who just had perfect pitch and was able to call forth any note at any time from like this magical ability they had. It wasn't until I took guitar lessons that I learned like you can sort of acquire that piece by piece by learning scales and connecting that to keys, and then sort of learning what each note of the scale like is going to sound like, and whatever. Okay. Can you decide what kind of musician you want to be? Dude, I feel like I kind of talked about this earlier in the Ask Me Anything. I'm sorry to cop out, but I do feel like I've addressed this. All right, I'm running out of steam here, and I try not to. This is like as long as I usually go. I believe I got to all my Patreon and YouTube members' questions, so I just want to say thank you for being a part of this. If I didn't get to your question, it's probably because you're not a Patreon subscriber or a YouTube member. If you join my YouTube channel or join my Patreon, you will then get priority. And I have this special pact that I made with all my followers that I have to answer their questions at every Ask Me Anything. So, if I'm leaving you in the cold, all you got to do is sign up for my loyalty program and join the cult. Thank you in advance for doing that. I've set up my Patreon and my YouTube so they have the exact same prices and the same perks and the same rewards and the same structure. So just pick whichever one you want. And then let's close with this. I despise most shred guitar, but there's definitely some awesome stuff hidden in there. Guthrie, Govan, and Alan Holdsworth are both geniuses who happen to play fast. Yes, I agree. Guthrie, Govan, I love. I love Alan Holdsworth too, but I truly love Guthrie, Govan. I would love to actually like be pals with him and meet him someday. I have this crazy fantasy that that'll happen if I go to NAMM. Yeah, I think Guthrie, Govan is a truly incredible guitar player. His ability to improvise is unbelievable. He can improvise like as good as anyone, and he can play anything he hears. All the shit I ever talk about like trying to just cut the bullshit and play what you hear in your head and connect your ability to execute the instrument with what you're hearing up here. Like Guthrie Govan is like what it looks like if you become as good at that as you possibly could. Like he's the guy who is like the best at that. So yes, I'm a huge fan of his playing. Yeah, that guy's one of a kind. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. If you don't want to sign up for my Patreon or YouTube, that's okay. We can still be friends. I still love doing these things. I still love hearing from you. Still like getting your comments on my YouTube videos. If you want to share your videos and like show them to your friends and post them on Facebook and Reddit and stuff, that does help. But even if you don't do that, thanks for being a part of this. And